Chapter 118. The next few nights pass in pleasurable relaxation. First, I add the Dver essence to my collection. I am not quite sure what it does, but I do feel a presence far away to the west. Perhaps the effects will be more obvious when I get back to Illinois. Second, Tauron gives me full access to his communication mirror, and a short call to Merit reassures me. My allies have not yet faced anything that they could not handle. With my obligations safely taken over by someone else, I can let go of my worries. I attend my first private concert, with Tauron choosing the next pieces according to my requests. He is as talented as expected. Moreover, he still holds to that spark that animates me when I draw, the small core of emotion that we have lost on other pursuits. The difference is flagrant. Where other vampires remain mechanical and contrived, he allows himself to play, to breathe. He interprets while others perform. I love him all the more for it. One of the rooms is made available for me to draw, and I do so while he works by my side. On the third night, we descend into town. Ehrenstadt extends around us, its streets calm and clean. Only the inn and its surroundings still resonate with raucous laughter. I follow my lover to the largest building, the only one made entirely of yellow stone, where I am invited to attend Tauron's weekly meeting with his domain's notables. I greet the Burgermeister and priest in Hochdeutsch, much to my host's amusement. I was assured that this version of German could be understood across all states. The cause of his hilarity becomes manifest as we are joined by landowners and factory heads. The town speaks a dialect I have trouble following at all. Thankfully, the meeting concludes quickly and we are soon on our way. I remark that when Tauron focuses, his expression grows cold. Silvery hair, gray eyes and his slightly rugged face add up to form a severe expression. His curt questions send the other attendants to check their notes with hasty zeal. Only I have the privilege to see him smile, it seems. It pleases me. I reserve my questions for after we are on our way back. How much do they know? That I do not age and that I am not to be trifled with. I make an example every 7 years on average, as they tend to forget. You kill them? Worse. I bankrupt their families. Ooh. Nasty. If they know you are unnatural, how can you have such a good relationship with the priest? You noticed? He is the only one I do not challenge, for the salvation of souls is not my concern. I also fund the repair of the church and quite a few projects besides. I see. How did you handle your priest? The first one liked submissive women with bountiful bosoms, such that I could provide at a discount. The second one is meek enough that I need not bother. Funding religious projects is also one of my favorite methods. I stop to consider the implications. Are we one of the biggest patrons of the Protestant Church? I finally ask as we leave the village behind. And the Catholic? Their secret inquisition leaves us alone for a reason. That, and they have their hands full with doomsday cults. Wah. On the fourth day, Tauron comes to see me as I finish a swim in his underground grotto. An opportunity has arisen to seek nourishment, my star. Would you care for a little outing? With pleasure. Who are we eating? I shall tell you on the way. We will be spreading fear in the hearts of mortals. As it should be. Would you like to dress up for the occasion? He finishes with a ghastly smile. I swim to the shore and rest my arms on the smooth stone. Do you mean, I am rich and powerful terrifier? I shall mount your head on my mentally piece terrify? I can do both. Oh, yes, you have your armor. He almost looks giddy. The gibbering wreck terrify. He turns around and races back up the stairs. I take the time to dry and braid my hair, then return to my own quarters. Time to impress. I wear undercloth and Loth's armor in its shiny dark perfection. The holes made by Otto have repaired themselves, but there are still spots where scales shine a darker hue. My war mask is also dented. Their heavy use only makes them more threatening. They say that some have tried to slay me and failed. I add knives to their sheaths, fasten my spear to my back, and clasp the black gauntlet on my eager hand. I bounce excitedly out and almost walk into Tauron, who was doing the same. We inspect each other. He wears a black plate armor with a Watcher-damned dragon on it, as well as a heavy cape. A polished sword hangs to his side in a silver-engraved scabbard so polished it reflects the lantern light. Even his presence feels heavier, somehow. He takes a step forward and the impact of his metal-clad foot echoes through the air. He actually is heavier. How much does that weigh? I exclaim in wonder. Not nearly enough. I am using my aura to increase my presence. We Dver can do that. Heh, your armor even has spiky bits on the shoulders. How adorable. It pleases me to garner your approval. Do you believe us intimidating enough? He jokingly asks. Wait. Watch this. Nu Surihin. Let there be light. I realized too late that I spoke in the Lycian language. Thankfully, Tauron is too absorbed by the effect of the spell to comment, for my eyes now shine with a cold blue light. The glacial radiance spreads from the mask's hull like the gaze of a wraith. Marvelous. Tauron whispers, can you do me as well? Of course, my love. Nu Surihin. The magic likes that. A lot. The dancing lights of lies and trickery turns his grey orbs grayer until he, too, appears ready to harvest souls. You know, my star, I was tasked with punishing a sergeant in the Imperial Army. He raped a woman, then used his connections to escape justice. Oh. And what does your supplicant require? Death for escaping his fate and laughing at the family's plea. I was going to do so discreetly, but now I believe that a more heavy-handed approach might be more entertaining. You want to ride in like the heralds of the apocalypse? Would it not be too overt? Nonsense, we have plenty of legends about riders dragging souls to hell. He stops and tilts his head. It will also remind the soldiers that a uniform is not a shield, at least not on my lands. Let us depart. I practically jump behind him as we enter the courtyard and scare the life out of the poor groom. Medicine Crower prance through the portcullis and over the bridge, then into the forest at breakneck speed. The trees close in behind us. Their embrace settles like a cape on my shoulders. We follow a snaking path that I could have sworn was not there the day before, and Tauron does his thing again. He feels heavier, more impactful. His aura twists the land. The ruckus of hooves stomping on wet soil joins the other sounds of the forest in a rhythmic and primal melody. Time ceases to matter. I am fairly confident we are still on Earth when Tauron finally slows down. In front of us, our path joins a well-traveled road leading to a sad village. 3 farms surround an inn from whence emerges poorly played music, the lights of their windows pale and wan. 2 soldiers in dark blue tunics stand guard next to a vine-covered fence. They look bored out of their mind. Time for our grand entrance? Tauron whispers. Wait. Let me set the mood first. I cackle. Tongue of cat, hair of a dog, seeking tendrils of the fog. Hide our cruel deeds. Smoke-like plumes expand forward, drawing the small clearing in mist and shadows. The 2 sentinels frown, feeling that something is not quite right. Nu Sharon, let there be darkness. Those are quite a few spells in quick succession, and I can already feel the drain on my depleted essence, but the night is ours and the magic is willing. Eager. It wants us to play. Darkness creeps on our unsuspecting victims. Light loses ground quickly before our onslaught. Act 1, Scene 1, I tell Tauron. My lover smirks and walks forward, so that every step Crower takes resonates like drums on the fabric of the world. The 2 guards huddle close to each other. Where come? Hallow. And death incarnate emerges from the abyss. I can see exactly the moment when they spot the immortal horror bearing down on them. I can see their frowns melt into expressions of sheer, delicious horror. I can taste the tears raining down their pallid cheeks. 9. Bit. Tauron rides to them. He leans to the side and he is enormous. His shape has grown so much that the soldiers appear as children in comparison, pitiful toys of cloth and bones. His hand, clad in a gauntlet of black iron, fastens around one of the men's neck and pulls him up as if he weighed nothing. Wo ist Anton Friedman? One of the poor souls points a shaky hand at the inn. Tauron lets him drop and dismounts as his informant crawls away like a worm. By that time, All signs of merriment have disappeared from the nearby building. I hear a voice whisper, "Was I close? What is happening?" "Oh, do not worry, you shall soon find out." Tauran crashes in, sending the remnants of the door tumbling down, hinges still attached. I follow him in, and we find ourselves in a common room. Groups of soldiers huddle around tables, cluttered with cards and beer steins. Anton Friedman. Tauran bellows. "Ah!" The assembled mortals reply. Tauran seems to hesitate then, and I point at a heavy-set man trying his best to hide behind a panicking waitress. Other soldiers also looked at him when my lover spoke his name. "Ich haben gefunden, Teufel," I whisper. "I have found him, devil." A hint of magic carries my words through the crowd. The culprit mewls piteously. Tauran stomps his way through the room and grabs the man by his foot as he tries to escape. "Jetzt kommst du mit uns, Sunder. Now you come with us, sinner." Tauran certainly has a proper sense of decorum. I like it. My lover stomps away, dragging our prey behind him. His captive shrieks and scratches the stained ground on his way out. I hiss one last time to terrify our spectators, then we ride away, Herr Friedman hanging upside down from Tauran's grip like a plucked chicken. Panicked screams and howled prayers offer a pleasing background to our exit. "That should satisfy my supplicant," Tauran mentions as we trot back to the forest. "Perhaps? I hope you were not tasked to make it mysterious, because I believe people may have noticed our presence." As soon as we are far enough, I thank Tauran for the meal and we drain the prey. We head back in comfortable silence until I remember something. "How come you hesitated back in the room?" My supplicant described the villain in ample detail, and she spent a good minute on his mustache. But, yes, he had shaved. That threw me off. I cannot help it, I guffaw, and Tauran soon joins me. Our intimidating display, almost undone by a lack of facial hair. For shame. "When did you learn German?" "I never asked," Tauran remarks. "I started to study after you left. As fate would have it, I had to spend some time south and realized I should have taken Spanish instead. There is still time. They are both wonderful languages. By the way, have you ever seen Faust? By Goethe? I have not had the chance. Then listen well, I will recite it for you." And I tread through the deep woods of the world, listening to my lover recite his favorite play. 10 days after making my soul weapon, I have finally recovered enough to start practicing in earnest. We head to the training field where Tauran predictably gives me a sound beating. "Oof. You are too static, my star. Do not try too many tricks yet. Add them progressively to your style, or you will lose your rhythm." He is right, of course. I stand where I am trying to perform fanciful moves while my style is mobile and aggressive. What frustrates me is that I can feel the deep variety of unexpected twists and vicious counters lying in my rows, waiting to be unleashed. I am simply unequal to the task of using them yet. We continue our spar, and I am finally able to include a few small improvements. One of them is the way the blade can curve as it extends, thus reaching flesh that was previously out of its range. The added amplitude forces Tauran to adapt and parry earlier, adding to the pressure I can place on him. Soon, other techniques join the first one. By varying the range, I can launch attacks at unexpected moments, closing and then escaping without stopping the flurry of blows. My movements grow more graceful as time goes on. The highlight of the session comes when an overhead strike pushes Tauran back and covers him in dust. Ha ha! It seems that the student will soon overtake the master, I tease. Tauran merely gives me the most condescending of smiles. Is that so? Does my little star feel strong and deadly? Are you ready to take me on? I will show you the might of the devourer, old man, I claim with pretend arrogance. I brandish the rose before me. Oh! Let me put you to the test then. A real one. And he is gone. And right in front of me. His blade smashes into my guard, pushing me back, and the battle resumes. This time, Tauran is fighting seriously. His style is still direct and indomitable, a walking disaster advancing slowly but relentlessly. He is considerably stronger than before, stronger than he was in America. This is Adverlord on his domain. I am helplessly pushed back. All right. Maybe you are not so rusty after all. I allow as I dive under a devastating sweep. I will show you rusty, little star. Tauron drops his sword, and another one appears in his outstretched hand, as black as the night. Its blade is large, too large to be practical. It looks terribly heavy. Tauron's next swing sends me crashing against a nearby tree. It is heavy indeed. Fine. I croak, UW, Magna Arca. Eh? What? Tauron's eyes flash purple as reality twists and moans around him. He starts growing, and growing, and growing. Obsidian rocks bleed from the ground to encircle his body and form a midnight armor of jagged spikes. The last few form a crown on his brow, close around his face so that only 2 gray orbs remain. He takes a step forth and the world trembles. I jump to my feet and sprint off in the other direction. The tree branches smack me, my feet slip on the ground. Rocks move to smack me aside as I pass them by, and from behind me comes the booming sound of a titan treading the world. Can we talk about IT? Tauron does not answer. Whelp. Time to run. Tauron ended up squashing me like a bug against the side of a cliff, following which I sulked for 2 days. Our next spars are more intense as a result. I progressively include new ranges of motions in my style and, I have to admit, Rose's unexpected moves make for some amusing and devastating maneuvers. I only had it for a few weeks, and I do not think that I can get back to using only a spear or a sword. Obviously I could. It would not be the same. A soul weapon really makes a world of difference. Altogether, I manage almost 3 weeks of uninterrupted holidays. Tauron is, of course, a delicious host, and we spend our nights sparring, doing art, and making love. I even get to visit Vienna to attend a rendition of the Magic Flute by Mozart. The difference with l'Elisir d'Amore is significant, and yet I end up enjoying myself almost as much. The aria of the Queen of Night, in particular, provokes a strong emotion in me. I had no idea that the human voice could be pushed to such extremes, and that the result could be so breathtaking. Jealousy does not even rear its ugly head despite my own shortcomings in this specific field. The end of my respite comes from an unexpected source. As we come back from a hunt, I am informed by a maid that a message had come during my absence. Reading the handwritten note brings back memories, as I recognize this style well. Ariane dear, I learned that you were in Europe, and that must be some damn stroke of luck or the hand of fate itself, because I could really use your help. I can only beg that you come at your soonest convenience. Just tell the other bloodsuckers that you are on a diplomatic mission to the Dverger or whatever. Please. I apologize for the secrecy. I trust the Rosenthal to get this to you. I cannot trust your peers not to take a peek. This is a personal matter where discretion is paramount. I hope to see you soon. Your friend, Loth. It appears that I am going to Sweden. Chapter 119. Tauron is understandably upset by my decision. At the same time, he understands honor and loyalty, therefore he never officially voices his regrets. My lover helps me plan my trip to Sweden, and we spend the last 3 days being thoroughly unproductive. Our farewells are short and tinged with regrets at the station. Until next time, my star. We will meet again. We will always meet again. We will. And it is now your turn to come and visit. Tauron makes a face at that and I bump him on the shoulder. If I have to compare the current state of Marquette and Erenstadt, well, I can hardly blame him for his obvious lack of enthusiasm. One last kiss, and we board. Sheridan looks dejected. I believe that he has enjoyed the local hospitality to its utmost, since his bed was almost never slept in. We spent some time together in the train restaurant, talking about our respective experiences. She even taught me some Magyar. He claims. Yes, I am sure that he is familiar with her tongue by now. I allow Sheridan to enthusiastically massacre the language, not even reacting at one of the waiter's painful winds. Poor vassal. He is showing interest in other languages, he who had not even made efforts to understand Spanish. I must show my support. My vassal soon goes to bed and I take out the first book on my list. I used to read a lot, back when I was a human. Under Loth's tutelage, my studies had focused on technical manuals and essays. Besides Jimenez raunchy novels, I had neglected this delicious pastime. I intend to remedy the situation, especially since the trip back by boat will take quite some time. I immediately dig into Dumas. His Count of Monte Cristo is a riveting story of long-planned revenge, and I find myself sympathizing with the main character, who has the grudge of a vampire and still the squishy, weak heart of a mortal. Adorable. There are other books as well, such as The Three Musketeers from the same author. I also obtained some bizarre work by an author called Mary Shelley, which I reserve for later. Isaac mentioned that it was intriguing, and I am eager to see what all the fuss is about. Hugo, Dickens, and Bronte have joined the ranks of my to-read list. I completed my collection with the Iliad and a few fairy tales, as well as a few more audacious titles. I should be set for a week or two of idleness, and will complete my collection before boarding the ship back to America. The next 2 days are rather boring. Except for nightly stops that do not give me enough time to visit anything, there are few distractions. The conductor of this train is a polite but distant Roland obsessed with propriety and timeliness. We are joined by a Hastings for a few hours, but he does not leave his own room. I can finally breathe when we reach Danzig. Under the watchful gaze of an Arenwald master, Sheridan and I walk the streets of the city. The architecture here is ancient and beautiful, with ornamented facades and strange additions of towers that give each building a personality. We walk the long street to our enjoyment. Our host also humors us by explaining what we see. They even have a torture house. I should get something similar in Marquette. Our visit is short, yet pleasant. I do not know if I am accompanied out of politeness or caution. The master herself displays no signs of hostility, only polite distance. The intricacies of European power politics escape me. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explore them, not if Tauron is not around to justify it. Oh, I already miss him. I wish I could open a magical portal between his land and mine. Perhaps, one day I will. A few hours of exploration later, we board a Rosenthal ship to Sweden. A steamship. I have not boarded one of those since I last descended to New Orleans a few years ago. This one is considerably larger. The large dame leaves great puffs of smoke in her wake like a cigar aficionado. Sheridan's mood dampens as the temperature drops and he experiences dried, salted fish. You don't know how good you have it, not having to eat. A pointed glare and a remark later, and my insensitive vassal mumbles an apology. He is right, of course. I just want him to remember to be careful with his words. We are in neutral territory, at best. Who knows how easily the Dverger could take offense? I would not want to damage Loth's prospects as a new king due to a simple faux pas. A day later, we arrive in view of the Stockholm archipelago. I expected much from Loth's home country, and the first approach does not disappoint. Stockholm is not a single landmass, but a series of islands dotting the space between a lake and the Baltic Sea. The few buildings I see from the top of my steamship are pale and austere, reflecting a classic approach to architecture. The rest, however. The closer we are and the more I spot signs of poverty in the surrounding homes. I smell death and filth in the air, as well as the general air of despair I had perceived from Alexandria. The city is in decline. I dismiss it. Decline is a temporary human concern. Loth's people will have different circumstances. I must not judge too hastily. I left the Rosenthal to arrange the details of the transport, and so I am mildly surprised when we do not stop at the largest pier. Instead, the ship heads inland for another hour, passing through complex systems of sluice gates, before stopping on the shore of Lake Malaron. The pier there is old and made of stone, well lit, with a small warehouse at the back. A dense forest of pine trees masks the rest of the view. The land is deep green and cold despite the approaching summer. Compared to the Mediterranean, the weather is positively frigid. I am wearing an armored dress of midnight blue with a nice little cloak for the occasion. I need to impress if he brought people with him. A trio of figures await us. I recognize Loth, of course, tall and majestic in a fashionable dark suit. A tall woman stands by his side, just as nervous as he is. She is dark blonde with brown eyes and a powerful build, made obvious by an elegant emerald dress. Gold shines at her ears and neck. I find her beautiful, if a bit cold. The last man is vigilant, and he is the only one not to stare forward to try and pierce the cover of darkness. His eyes drift with the passive attention of the vigilant sentinel. I recognize him from the scar covering the right part of his handsome, clean-shaven face. He was the man I fought at the top of the N where Loth was ambushed by his now ex-wife Liachne. I had to drop a barrel of rainwater on my head because he had set me on fire. A cat had peed in it. I forgot his name. I focus on the Rosenthal essence, and I remember the name Skjol. Handy. Anyway, it matters not. It's Loth. Oh, it is so good to see him again. I could fly. In fact, I believe I shall do just this. I turn to Sheridan. I shall see you on the shore. And then, I jump. Power easily carries me over the water and to the edge of the pier, where I land silently. Bluth, I say with delight, as I grab the knife the bodyguard had reflexively sent mid-flight and jump again, this time into my friend's waiting arms. Loth. Tee. It is really you. Loth's roar of delight shakes his massive chest. It rumbles under my grip, warm and solid. He returns my hug. I look up to see that he has mirrored my ecstatic smile. You have no idea how long I've been waiting for this. You, here. And so strong. How you have grown. I drop from his chest and take a few steps back. I toss the knife back to a mildly annoyed guard and curtsy. Loth taught me rudimentary Dvergr ages ago, so that I could work his runes. My command of the language is terrible, but I managed to dig through my notes and remember enough to at least offer polite greetings. Lady and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to meet you. I am Ariane of the Nirari, Vampire Master, I greet in their own tongue. Loth claps excitedly and his female companion offers me a wan smile. Some of the tension leaves her shoulders. Loth knew that I was a master, of course. I suppose that my arm must have surprised him. Ah, Ariane. Allow me to introduce you to Carrie, my fiancée. Ooh. Congratulations to both of you. I am delighted to hear that. When is the celebration? Is it soon? A Dvergr marriage. Well, about that. That's why I asked ye to come, yes? By Tyre, what a mess. Anyway, you remember Skjol? He continues, pointing at the slightly miffed bodyguard. Oh, yes, I remember you. You set fire to my dress and I thrashed you, did I not? Such a pleasure to see you again all alive and kicking. Heh? Yes. You were a worthy opponent, the taciturn man replies with obvious respect, to my surprise. It was kind of you to come to us so quickly, Carrie continues in a smooth alto. She is still a little wary of me. I cannot know for sure if it is due to my nature, or my past. Only a dimwit would believe that a healthy man would shack up with a beautiful vampire for 10 years without some shagging taking place. Anything for my friend, I answer while trying to look harmless. So, can you tell me what this is all about? You seem anxious. I suppose we can do it now. We have to wait for the ship to unload anyway, Loth answers. He gestures, and the four of us pull to the side, at the edge of the warehouse. Remember the night I confronted Liachne? Loth asked in a conspiratorial voice. Yes? Mostly. Remember what I told Liachne at the end? Consider yourself divorced. I declaim in a low voice, my face a mask of affronted pride. Carrie smiles at my antics, and so does Loth, though he also looks embarrassed. That too The main thing was, she asked me why I favored you over her. I answered her and she, relayed my word to the court. I do not see the problem, I retort, now slightly annoyed that they tiptoe around the problem. According to Dverga tradition, I claimed you as my wife. Kind of. I wait for him to laugh and tell me that it was a joke. I wait a bit more. Carrie raises a brow. Welp. I am sorry, could you confirm that? We're married. Not married, but fiancés. Or at least, we are considered such under Dverga law until you can state that this is not the case. By the watcher, Loth, does that make me a Dverga princess? Royal concubine? Do I get a crown? A circlet, at least. I start teasingly, but Loth only turns red as a boiled lobster. I raise my hands to indicate that I am dropping the joke. My apologies, I had not realized that the matter was so serious. Do you need my testimony that we are not, in fact, bound by the promise of matrimony? Indeed. Then you shall have it. My lover would be rather cross if I eloped without his knowledge. I am afraid that he might challenge you to duel. Ha! Been a long time since I got into a good scrap myself. Perhaps not against him though. Oh, I so wish he could have come so that you two could meet, but he had other engagements. Loth crosses his muscular arms over his imposing chest. Looking down upon me already? With all due respect, my friend, I have seen both of you fight. I would bet on the angry Dverlord. Forgive me. It's favoritism, is what it is. I place a hand on his arm as a gesture of conciliation. Oh, I so wish I could have introduced him. You two would have been the best of friends, I am sure. Carrie clears her throat to attract our attention. Perhaps we should pursue this discussion in the carriage. It would be safer. Safer. I frown, but do not comment. If safety is a concern, then explanations can wait. A few workers emerge from the warehouse to help the ship dock while we walk away. I hear a sound of impact, and see that Sheridan also jumped from the ship. He joins us as we walk away. Marshal Sheridan, retired ranger in my vessel, I introduce. Loth shakes his hand with enthusiasm. A lawman, eh? Nice to meet ye, lad. We'll catch a drink inside later, I have so much to tell ye about your dear mistress. Hey! No collusion. But wait, in the face of slander, one has to go on the offensive. Balance of terror. Carrie. I sweetly start, as I turn to the now very attentive bride-to-be. There is no need for that, Loth interrupts hurriedly. We pass by the warehouse and come into view of a dense forest of deep green pines, as well as the carriage. Truly, the term does not do justice to that crossbreed of a royal coach and a bank vault. To the mundane eye, it looks large and expensive, the private means of transportation of a prince with far more money than sense. I, however, can discern the multiple lattice layers of hardened material, as well as an excessive amount of protective enchantments. I could not force that monster open in one night. That thing could bounce back a cannonball without moving an inch. It should shine in the dark. Are we expecting an attack? I ask in jest. The grim expression of my host gives me all the answers I need. That bad? I ask with surprise, and my good mood falls. I turn my attention to my surroundings and open my senses. Just in time to hear the distinct click of a cocked gun. Down. I scream. I push Sheridan and Loth to the ground, whilst Joel jumps on Carrie. The sound of a discharged firearm echoes through the empty night, and I hear the sound of a bullet scoring a hit. Loth. Sheridan. No armors. I panic. I sniff the air and taste no blood. They are under attack, my friends and my precious vessel. And they were caught off guard. Not ready. Crush the threat. Kill. Kill. Roar. Vad fan var det? Comes a voice from the side, hidden behind a dense thicket of ferns. Stupid prey. Wind in my hair. I appear by their side. Two humans in hunter garb, with powerful rifles. They stand. More gunshots from the front. Need me, need me. No time. I worked so far to use the rose smartly that I forgot its brute force potential. The mighty weapon appears in my hand. I swing from back to front, blade fully extended. I put all my strength and fury and instinctual response in the blow. HSSSS. The mighty strike devastates everything in its path. The forest is cleared in the cone before me while splinters and gore are sent tumbling to the ground in a shower of debris. I taste essence. I stare in awe at the rose for an instant. There, on the blade, blood disappears. The amount of strength I receive is negligible, barely a tenth of what devouring would grant me, but it is still significant. The rose drinks blood. Literally. It appears that I gained an extra fang, and now is the time to put it to good use. I steal a glance at my allies. They are crouching behind the unbreakable barrier of the carriage, except for Joel, who snuck low and approaches the enemy firing line from the side. They're humans in the same dark clothes as the ones I dismembered, as far as I can tell. They look local. I examine this as I rush forward and pass Joel, then to the side of the line. Screams in their strange language echo across the herd, A with circle helvet, A with circle javelar. I can guess the general meaning. The scent of blood and powder wakes me up in a way only the sweet liquid can. Yes, I am back in the world of intrigue and slaughter. In a way, I have missed it. I sprint forth, killing everything in my path, then stop as the assailants drop their weapons and run. No more danger. Does Loth want prisoners? You cocksuckers. The man himself bellows. I turn to see my friend wearing a battle mask and a strange cylinder. It thumps loudly, and a small explosion rocks the underbush. Two men fall to the ground holding bleeding wounds. No prisoners then. I run after the few survivors and devour the first one. Then, as I grab the next, I feel something in the distance. I am now inside of the forest. Pine needles cover the ground and there are no more ferns. The visibility is improved and I can see a small rocky elevation in the distance. I felt something coming from there. The barest hint of magic. Interesting. I stalk closer, runners forgotten. I think there are only two terrified survivors anyway, and they do not interest me as much as this. A small thicket tops the large stone. I see nothing. I close my eyes and smell the air. Pine sap, soil, humidity, the distant tang of blood and the caustic bite of spent powder, but there is something underneath. Fresh sweat. Coming from the front. I can smell you. I hum with amusement. A muffled curse comes from the empty space before. And now I can hear you as well, I note with a smile. I focus the herald essence in my claw and the rose turns blue. My claws are crystallized essence. The blade is crystallized essence. Of course, it can carry the magic breaking effect as well. Perfect. I jump to the side of the elevation and stab the air, being careful not to get too close. I guess that concealment magic is at work, but if it were up to me, I would have added an unpleasant effect if someone tried to force entry. My eyes widen in surprise when the charm falls to reveal Edverger in the process of standing up. This one has dark brown hair and a bushy beard like Loth, though he looks younger. He holds in his hands a rifle of complex make, the barrel engraved with many runes. It is now swerving towards my head. The man shoots as I duck. He would have caught me between the eyes. Pretty good reflexes for a mortal creature. I see you, little rat. I punch him in the chest. What I took for a leather armor turns out to have reinforced metal underneath. Enchanted as well. There are so many spells weaved in his gear that I have trouble tasting which is which. His torso may have been protected, his head is not. He falls backward and cracks it against a pine trunk, bark flaking under the strain. I pick up the gun, then I catch him by the foot and drag him down the rock and towards my allies. Time to show them what I caught. I hear the click of a cocked pistol. I turn and grab the firearm aimed at my neck. That Dverger has dark eyes, and they are very close now. He smells of scrumptious terror, and shows signs of shame as well. Tempting, tempting. But no, there will be time later. My little rat presses the trigger with all the strength he has, in vain. My index is on the hammer. Oh, feisty? It appears that you do not need this hand anymore. The snap of broken bones. I did not break too much. That can lead to internal bleeding that the mortals may not survive. I do not know how hardy this specific morsel is. I resume my walk, with my captive now too busy moaning in pain to offer much resistance. I find them still hiding behind the carriage, whose horses did not move at all during the altercation. Humans mutter on the other side of the warehouse. I approach the coach from the side, Dverger in tow. Look what I found! I exclaim with pride. Loth turns from his argument with Skjoel, and he becomes furious at the sight of what I brought back. Should have known, damn Isverleer. Sheridan looks a bit lost, arms crossed in a typical gesture of annoyance. Carrie's skin is pale and she smells of vomit. Do you want to question him? Then can I eat him after we are done? Where was he? Hidden above the other attackers, with this, I tell him, while handing the gun to Skjoel. Probably to catch one of us in case the assault fails and we come looking for proof. With that caliber, he would have gone through heavy armor. Would you really have gone through check? I ask, surprised by his recklessness. No. I would have sent Skjoel. As you should, the bodyguard replies, eyes fixed on my docile prisoner. Is every battle like that? Carrie finally asks. She is staring behind me. A quick glance shows that the lights of the warehouse shine on what remains of the first pair of foes I got my hands on. Their remains are graphic. That's more of a vampire thing, darling, Loth replies with a comforting hand on her shoulder. Glad she is on our side, EY. It would certainly be better than the alternative, she says. There follows a series of curses in Dverger and Swedish that I do not quite catch. Skjoel takes the prisoner from me to bind him while I go check on Sheridan. Are you quite all right? I could swear I heard the bullet hitting. Check your shoulder, the ranger replies with a grin. Indeed, I find a silver lump stuck against my heart protector's harness. For once, I was lucky. It would have been quite painful. I still grumble and remove the offending thing. The bullet burned my dress at the point of impact. One more dress lost in the line of duty. When will this ever end? They are not exactly cheap either. To answer your question, I admit to being terrified. I thought I had lost the fear of death after our Mediterranean adventure. I was wrong. Good. The moment you lose it entirely, you will place both of us in danger. The armors I provide will not defend you from falling off a cliff, or being poisoned in your sleep. Caution will serve you well. You do not seem afraid of death, however. Not with the way you run at danger. I respect the possibility of death. It boils down to the same principle: do not act in a manner that could pointlessly make you lose your life. You did well by taking cover since you were unarmed and undefended, and I did well engaging an inferior foe to cover you. My brave vassal frowns at the reminder of this unexpected piece of entertainment. Yeah, what's the matter with that? I thought we were on friendly territory. I suppose we will find out shortly. You find out. I'm going to get my guns. I admit to being curious. The trio of Dverger now stands before the prisoner, who glares at the ground with shame. They talk in their native tongue so that I can only glean fragments of speech. Forbidden and abjection are spoken several times. Eventually, Carrie throws her hands in the air in frustration. Have you reached a decision? We should not dally, I tell them. Skjoel and I believe that the information we could gain from a thorough interrogation justifies the pain of leaving one of our race to your tender care. I can leave him unbroken. Mostly. Operatives such as him are trained to resist mind techniques. No training will ever be enough to stop us, I declare with confidence. The two exchange a glance. Besides, I have not tasted Verger essence since. Carrie perks up, and Loth shows the first hints of distress. You saved my life, back in the blood cult base, I casually finish. Loth smiles and Carrie settles down. Do not worry, you old dog, I have your back. I must not let Carrie think that we are anything more than friends and comrades in arms. The slaughter I just committed should also make me appear as more monster than woman. I still think that we should conduct our inquiry in private. I don't think that anyone else is going to show up. Carrie dear, ye should go back to the carriage and I'll let ye know what we find out. Joel? I will make sure that the perimeter is secure, then supervise the loading of Lady Nirari's luggage. We all agree, and I drag our prisoner with me to an empty storage room selected by Loth. He closes the door behind us, and I drop my charge on the ground. Right. Time to tell you what this is all about, I suppose. That would be nice. By the way, impressive display. I had forgotten how it felt to have you by my side. Nice sword too. I smile, because I can tell that guilt overcame him as he suddenly realized that I was attacked upon landing on his land following his invitation, and then proceeded to single-handedly save the day. Or night, in this particular example. Enough, my friend, we will have time to talk later. For now, we should get into the meat of the matter. Right. So, I am king of the Skarag clan. My ex-wife is from the smaller Icevalier clan, and they enjoyed playing a bigger role in our politics. I just took a series of measures to get them to fuck off, starting with the divorce, and they're being prissy twats about it. Problem is, they still got loyalists so they can find out where I go to do that sort of shit. Language. Oh, not this again. Ahem. My apologies. Is he from the Icevalier clan? Him? Yes, but he was banished if I remember correctly. Vanner the Cruel, his name is. Right prick. I'd bet my right bollock that they offered him a pardon if he could off me, but no way to prove it in court. They will say that we rewrote his memory with vampire magic. I just want to know about other traps, and anything he can tell me about his clan's plans. Oh, and can you spare his life? Can't I still drink his blood? I foresee no difficulty then. I will work on making him more pliable. And you prepare your questions. Agreed? Agreed. Now, Vanner, I tell the panicking man on the ground, I trust that you will offer more of a challenge than you previously did. You do not want to fail twice in the same night, do you? I asked menacingly. That was good, lass, but I don't think he understands English. In Vanner's brown orbs, I only see anxiety and incomprehension. Damn it. Well, never mind. It would be nice to practice my manipulation skill if I had the patience or spoke the language. Instead, I bite his throat. Dear Vanner is succulent. He tastes of fear and regrets, with a deeper magic made twisted by appetites he took no efforts to control. The power rushes through me, making me stronger once again. I stop too soon for my taste and stare him in the eyes. A barrier protects him, a mental discipline of sorts. It does not matter. I am already inside after biting him. His fall is simply a matter of patience. Patience, and relentless efforts. Slowly, carefully, I erode the wall he erected around his core. My mind seeps in the cracks. It peels off protective layers one by one, and dissects metaphorical locks before tearing them apart. Vanner's face grows slack as the last of his willpower crumbles to dust. All yours. Mind working for the crown full time. I can pay ye well. I am sorry, old friend. I already have my own kingdom. Heh? Had to try. Loth grabs the husk I lift and asks questions in fast, angry Verger. Vanner's answers are slow and mechanical. He offers no resistance at all. I pick at the hole in my dress out of boredom. "I am done," Loth finally says. "You want to finish your meal?" I consider the offer. I gave the would-be assassin as an offering to my friend, so that he could partake. In a way, draining him now would feel strange. Besides, I am sated. "Let's give him to your bride. Sparing his worthless life will please her peace-inclined mind." "Oh, right. And maybe I can get him publicly executed later. Do you mind if I anesthetize him?" What? Be my guest?" Loth grabs Vanner by the collar again and throws the most devastating, jaw-shattering hook I have ever seen. The other man twists on the side and crashes against stacked crates. "I think he is asleep now," I remarked dryly. "Damn, that felt good. Let's return to the others." I grumble and grab Vanner from the ground. Loth has returned to his old habit of having me carry heavy things. Chivalry is dead. We come out to see that the luggage has already been secured, and we are ready to go. "Where do you want him?" I ask. Carrie lifts a finger and speaks in a slow and purposeful tone, like a politician. Despite the anger we feel, we must respect the rules of war as stated by. "Just toss him on the roof, I'll grab the chains," Joel interrupts. The pair exchanges a murderous glare as I follow the bodyguard's recommendation. I understand rules. I also understand brevity. The carriage's insides amaze me by offering the most comfortable seats ever to grace my posterior outside of a salon. They cradle my butt in their velvety embrace, soothing and welcoming. I find myself repositioning just to make sure that they are real. "Nervous?" Sheridan asks, as he comes in. "No, just..." "Wow, these are some comfortable couches." "I know. Incredible. The red upholstery. The enchanted oil lamp and their soft red glow. Thick curtains. A silent thirst. All conspires to push me into a state of relaxation, briefly interrupted when we are joined by Loth and Carrie. The four of us fit comfortably inside despite the Dverger's heavy frames. "Like it?" Loth asks with a smile. "Yes, an amazing arrangement. The inner part is shielded against sunlight as well, a necessity during our travels." "Wait," I ask, suddenly worried, "is our destination far?" "Indeed, for we are going to the Skans, the long mountain range that runs the entirety of the Scandinavian peninsula. And since it is summer now, night will only last for a bit over 6 hours." "You cannot be serious," I say with horror. Alas, he was. The trip to the Skarag mountain home lasts for 4 days, 4 bloody days during which I remain mostly cooped up. At least Sheridan gets to visit the local woods. Only my books and Loth's company saves me from insanity. Liechni tried to remarry with my brother, but he cast her out. He was fed up with her bull. Her nonsense too. Anyway, I showed up and got reinstated in less than 3 months by the old guard. The Ice Valier really went too far recently, what with all the factories they tried to take away from us. We recovered a lot of stuff already. Firebombed a few others. Cousin Okrai was sitting on enough explosives to blow up a mountain just for the occasion. "Did you manage to catch up with everyone and survive the subsequent hangover?" By spreading it over 4 years. My liver will never be the same." "Is there an endgame with that clan? How are they still trying to mess with you?" "Lots of oaths taken, have to disentangle by proving misconduct to the council. It's just a gaggle of old farts who oversee the application of laws. No real power, but everyone listens to them all the same. We are winning now, and when we are done, I'll make sure the Ice Valier have just enough money left for a one-way trip to Canada." "What did the Canadians do to deserve that?" "Anyway, after your testimony, we'll visit the land. I got some amusing things to show you as an apology." "I will look forward to it, and do not forget to provide snacks." On the 5th night, I wake up to a comfortable bed covered in bearskin, and a vaulted ceiling of grey stone. A fire burns in a nearby hearth. Tapestries on the walls depict scenes of hunts. Scarag, home of Loth's clan. Chapter 120. Loth did not give me a room, he gave me a full suite. I enjoy a long bath in a smooth cavity dug into the very rock, then realize that Loth left me something to wear. I pass my hand over a long blue dress and corset of a very thick fabric over a long-sleeved white shirt. It looks practical and feels nice. A part of me remains bothered that Loth knows my exact dimensions up to and including my breast size. It feels strangely intimate, in a way, but this part is silenced when I put on perfectly made boots. They are deliciously snug as they wrap my toes in their loving embrace. Now dressed and ready for battle, I search the room for a message, which I find on a night table by the bed. Finding where I am before leaving is paramount. When walking out of the wrong door can turn me into an extra crispy pile of charcoal before I can say son. The message is laconic. Lass, join me in my office. Get out of your room and turn left, then the first right. It's at the end of the corridor. Your vassal is fine, by the way. He is out hunting elk with my cousin Rollo. The one with the hairy arse. Thank you for keeping me informed, Loth, much appreciated. I follow his directions through dim corridors lit by lanterns. The walls are sheer-rock decorated with ancient, massive tapestries. Hand-woven, of course. I knock on a massive reinforced door decorated with steel, and politely wait. Ah, you're awake. And so early too. Loth wears a comfortable long jacket over a simple shirt and brown pants. He looks much like he used to when we lived together. The only change is a large amulet encircling a large ruby dangling from his collar. Would you mind telling me why your door is trapped with explosive runes? I ask. I did not trigger the spell, of course. It would have roasted a good quarter of the alley. The entire fortress is trapped to the gills. But don't ye worry your pretty head, it's all under the control of old man Eriker. The one who punched a bear. And did it again when some cunt said it was bollocks. He was off his tits both times too. I feel safer already. Say, why don't I show you round my gaff? Careful, your Scottish is showing. Does it? I roll my eyes, but I trail him as he goes by. The Scarag complex can only be referred to as massive. It is practically an underground city carved from the very rock, both solid and surprisingly cozy. We inspect a massive foundry where hairy, bare-chested men work in sweltering heat, a common room where people are already feasting, and even a hospital. As we move, those we come across salute him and smile at me. They don't know that you're a bloodsucker. We kept your coming oh hush hush, and the clothes help as well. You look local. Not really. There are Swedes, who are mostly blonde and tall but with slightly different features so that I still look like a stranger. The Dvergr are easily recognizable from their heavy-set frames, both men and women. Some Dvergr are more easy to discern than the others, and I wonder if they are mixed bloods. Wait, why are they always smiling at me then? Do they think I am your, side business? What? Nee. Silence. Well, yes. It's a common practice here. Lots of kids with mixed ancestry, myself included. Sometimes, the Dvergr blood re-emerges in surprising places. Take Ibn Arfin for example. Here he comes. Hey Arfin. Alaikum salam, boss man. We pass by an Arabic Dvergr. Lad had a hard time finding us, I tell ya. But probably not as hard as Lihua. Anyway, we have a lot of kids with humans, so it's nothing shocking. You are not going to get married soon? Should you not remain celibate? I ask, scandalized. Bah. I'll knock Carrie up good in no time, don't worry about it. But surely. Is this normal? Loth turns to me and, this time, his expression is serious. Listen lass, there is one absolute rule for, living arrangements for our kind. It's to mind your own business. I raise my hands and surrender. I am not here to judge. Course, it stops at violence and the like. You get my meaning. How do you raise the kids, by the way? The clan has a reliable support system. Let me show you the nursery, he tells me with a smile. This one is rather close to the surface, so that the children can have easy access to sunlight. He has the roof aperture closed before I get in. Inside, I find a nicely decorated room with rows of cradles hosting an army of toddlers under the watchful gaze of a human nurse whose smile appears to be glued on. I channel the Hastings essence to look like a mortal myself. Some would react poorly to a vampire around their kids. Oh, it is so nice to meet you. How do you like Sweden? She asks me with a heavily accented voice. Delightful so far. So, you take care of the children? Until her parent returns, yes. Many have tasks to complete that require utmost concentration. Our facilities are designed to provide a relaxing and stimulating environment favorable to a healthy growth. Behind her, Loth rolls his eyes, but then he soon turns and smiles at the occupant of a cradle. Oh, I cannot wait for him to be a new dad. You are expecting then? She asks as she happily jumps to conclusions. Here, this is Matthews, he is my 2-month-old nephew. Arg, no. I react immediately and hold the toddler properly, one hand protecting the neck and head while the other supports the butt. He smells of burger magic, though it is still nascent. Loth turns and looks at me with horror. Ah, he does not know that my experience as a madam gave me some experience with spawns. This baby looks healthy. For one moment, I consider how pliable they are and how much my kind could achieve with more intervention and education. The little one turns his gaze to me. Agu. Burp on me and I will eat your mom, I sing-song. Oh, you already know how to handle a babe. You do not need my help at all. The nurse states. Is she constantly upbeat? I helped in raising kids in my previous position, but I never had one of my own. I am sure it will be fine, but you know men. Always worried about things they do not understand, I tell her. Behind the nurse, Loth blinks, flabbergasted. Oh yes, he's a worrywart, I'll give you that. Oh, you are visiting, yes? Go and finish your tour, then come and see me sometime, we will exchange tips. I nod and bring a little more red to my cheeks. The Hastings essence does not make me more human, it shows me how to act like one, and I find the results hilarious. Especially now that Loth drags me out into a stone alley with a mighty frown on his brow. I immediately drop the essence and make myself cold and immobile. Oh, that's more like it, lass. He had me worried there for a moment. All bashful and delicate like a normal person. Hey. A true vampire would have said that the baby would make a fine sacrifice, ha ha. I keep my expression neutral. You did not think that, right? He did have a nice, potent essence. Oi? I smile, he smiles, and we chuckle. I still abide by my code, Loth. No children. I know. So, where is your throne room? Do you have one? Is the throne made out of the skulls of your enemies? No, we are not like that. We have a council table. Though, if you want to see the seat of my power. He winks suggestively. I am not fooled. It is your workshop, is it not? Got it in one. Come on, let me show you what I have been working on. Compared to before, Loth's pace is faster and more excited than regal. We retrace our steps to the private quarters where my suite is, and I think I get a general idea of the mountain base's layout. The heavily defended main entrance leads to barracks and the mess hall, with several wings branching out in every direction. The royal quarters are only one of the many complexes snaking below the skin of the earth, with many openings letting in the sunlight. We avoid those. Loth still informs me that they are made out of a crystalline substance that could block artillery shells. I admit to being impressed. They even have a massive greenhouse. This place could stand a siege almost indefinitely. Finally, Loth leads me to a vault door the size of a carriage. He removes a massive key from the recess of his jacket and inserts it in. A rumbling later, and the steel obstacle rotates on oiled hinges with nary a sound, revealing the treasure within. I admit to being impressed. I admit to being very impressed. Wow. Right? Come in, come in. Loth's workshop occupies a circular room with a high ceiling, and walls of sheer rock. Illumination is provided by a set of enchanted lamps giving off a powerful white light. Rails dug into the very ground lead to a pair of gates on opposite sides of the place, perpendicular to the entrance we took. You could fit a sloop in there. In accordance to its owner's bubbling mind, the workshop is neatly divided into subsections. Vertically. Even now, slabs and constructs and armors and tables hang suspended into the air at various elevations by heavy chains, each one being a work in progress. I see a magical cannon like the one he made for his home back in Georgia, but twice the size. His black iron armor hangs on one side and another delicate cuirass's size dangles at the opposite end. Racks of axes and swords take an entire wall. The current setting shows that he was working on something that looks like a bathtub, but I suspect might be some sort of metal coating technology. What is that thing? I ask, eyes filled with wonder. A self-heating bathtub. Oh. Let me show you something amazing. Loth lowers one of the many levers covering the walls, this one tucked snugly between sheafs of notes stabbed with a spear tip, and a coffee table with a half-eaten sandwich. The beautiful work of art lowering down like an angel from heaven sends me into a state of pure delight. It has 8 long barrels at the end of a rectangular body with a thin bar at the top. It shines with cooling and reinforcement enchantments. Is that a work in progress, for now? Repetition is not so much a problem as weight, recoil, overheating and so on. Now, with an efficient framework, we could get something that could fire 100 bullets a minute. For 5 minutes. Amazing. It would be fixed, of course. Unless the wielder had unnatural strength. Wink wink. By the watcher. Problem is that it's too heavy for me, and I have to turn it all the time. Mind giving me a hand? Just like old times. I even have issues unsticking my gaze from this breathtaking piece of glorious engineering. Spare apron? Behind you. 3rd shelf. 1 hour later. It's Raz, then Mir, then Co, Loth explains in the calm voice reserved for those touched in the head. And how do you expect to close the outer circle then, genius? I hiss. I balance the hundreds of pounds of steel on one hand and point at a circle near the firing mechanism. That's not the outer circle. It's the primer. The outer circle links to it via an organ conductor inside the casing. I open my mouth to reply and realize that, yes, it should work perfectly. In fact, he just provided a brilliant solution to the energy efficiency problem I had seen coming. Fuck it, you're right. And do try not to look so smug, no need to be an asshole about it. Language. He squeals in a comically high voice. I point at Claude's chest. None of that. What I say in the workshop stays in the workshop. Or else. Loth crosses his massive arms over an equally muscular torso. He gives me a slow nod. Fair enough. Help me turn. Oh, bollocks. I hear it too. The entrance door opens with ponderous slowness. Carrie walks in, looking quite fetching in an elegant forest green dress. Her dark blonde hair is held in an elaborate that highlights her aristocratic features. Her brown eyes smolder with barely contained fury. She takes the scene in. Me with an apron and protective mitts holding the gun barrels in optimal position. Loth in a similar gear, with a helmet on, right eye covered with a magic detection lens. He holds a brush and a pot of scintillating paint. She crosses her arms and takes a deep, rage-tinged breath. The kind that starts every screaming session. It does not happen, though. She blows it through her nose with the sound of forge bellows as her anger turns cold. She pointedly takes a watch from a pocket at her flank, and shakes it on its chain. Then, she turns around and departs with affronted dignity. Another Dverger woman pops her head through the opening and frowns at us, before shaking her head in disgust and leaving as well. The vault gate shuts with the clang of a sealed coffin. Something you forgot. We were supposed to join her in her office after the visit, so she could prepare you for the testimony. Really? When was that? What's the time, lass? Never mind. Loth and I managed to finish the circle we were working on, then race to Carrie's personal chambers in record times. The lady of the house waits for us in a throne-like leather chair with the attendant we saw earlier, a stern woman with graying brown hair. She snaps a fan close as we come in. Loth stands awkwardly with his hands behind his back like the big goof he can be sometimes. I, however, am a mighty vampire who does not need to justify herself, so I stand with my arms crossed and looking at the side because I did absolutely nothing wrong and definitely do not deserve a scolding, so there. Honestly, I am unsure as to how I am supposed to react to the two of you. I frown. I am here to assist at the request of a friend, as a favor. I do not answer to her. Carrie must have felt something, because her expression softens. I apologize, Ariane. You are our guest here, and we have not been equal to the task. If only there was a 1,000-years-old adult with a good knowledge of the situation who could act responsibly. All right, I get it, Loth grumbles in turn. Good. Carrie's anger finally leaves her. Her attendant, whose name is Irva, brings chairs and we sit around a low table loaded with dried fruits and snacks. The Dverger help themselves while I drink my host's favorite infusion. Her room is much less cluttered than Loth's space, with modern furniture made of dark wood. I notice that green is ubiquitous in her choice of decoration, clothes, and jewelry. A clan thing, perhaps? Ariane, the reason why I wanted the pleasure of your company today was to prepare you for the examination that you so kindly agreed to participate in. While we are grateful for your selfless help, I have to regretfully say that the Council of Clans will make no effort to be accommodating. What she's saying is that they're a bunch of nasty old twats, Loth adds helpfully as he skewers a meatball. I do not need translation, darling, Carrie hisses, finally out of patience. Loth shrugs. In any case, we have made the formal request to have our marriage certified. Normally, this would not be necessary, but the Ice-Valir will have no recourse if we have the Council's backing. They will be pushed out for good. This is where you come in. The only serious objection they made was that Loth was betrothed to a vampire. That sure made the old cunts foam at the mouth, squealing about treason. Pure rage. It would have been against tradition, Carrie continues, and the Council embodies tradition. Your timing could not be more fortuitous. My point is that they will ask questions with little regard to propriety. I take a sip of the warm liquid to give myself the time to think. My instincts are inherited from a man who normally repays insults by pulling the offender's spine out of their own ribcage while they are still alive. You do realize that there are limits to how much I can tolerate, I say. The Council itself is no monolithic body. If one of them goes too far to provoke you, they will be censored by the other 6? Or 5? You only have to clad yourself in contempt while the offender reaps the consequences of their own actions. I have to ask. What if they do go too far and I eat them? Carrie's expression turns pained. If they insult you too openly under our roof and you attack, we will side with you. It means bloody war, however, so please keep it in mind. Oh, and if ye do start killing, leave me that old cockless bugger Ragnar, lass. I want to strangle him myself, Loth adds helpfully between 2 bites. Carrie massages her left temple with 2 fingers. Next to her, Irva sighs. I promise to do my best. I am here to solve problems, not create more, I say. That gets me an appreciative nod from both women. That is all I can ask. Now, What are vampire councils typically like? In terms of what? Everything. Why does she ask? Ah, I understand, she wants to manage my expectations. We gather with our seconds in a secured underground vault, around a modular round table of obsidian. The speaker animates the reunion and addresses the issues one by one. We vote on decisions that do not reach consensus. So, well-ordered and mostly silent? An understatement. We do not move, nor breathe, and we are expected to remain unfailingly polite at all times. That includes a perfect control of one's aura. Arguments are a rarity, because negotiations occur before the meeting starts. No one raises their voices? It has not occurred yet. They look impressed. Loth drops a chicken bone in a nearby trash can and cleans his lips. He is back to serious. This council is going to be very different then. The decrepit old baggages will convene in our own council room around a table. Carrie and I will sit there and present our case. Observers are allowed in benches on the side. Thing is, we have all known each other for a long time and we all have some faraway cousin who shagged their own faraway cousin and stole their chicken while they were asleep. You get the gist. Is this a trial or a family argument? I ask as a jest. Alas. They do not laugh. You're spot on. It's both. And it can heat up fast. I was joking earlier, lass, I would also like it if blood were not shed. And they will insult you. At least some of them will. Damn it. We are perhaps overstating how offensive they will be. What matters is that you are prepared. I understand. Good. Now, Irva? I suggest we retire to bedroom, the brunette says in thickly accented English. I take measurement for a new dress while you teach customs. Yes, Carrie replies, that would work nicely. Loth is smart enough not to tell them that he already has my measurements. We three leave Loth to gorge himself on snacks, and move to a side room hosting a palatial bed, as well as a small separation behind which I change into a shift. Irva then assaults me with a marked band while taking notes on a small book. Carrie handles the Dverger culture cramming session. The council consists of 7 very old Dverger, the oldest ones alive. I am taught their names and personalities, which can apparently all be placed somewhere on the ill-tempered and short-fused side of the spectrum. One in particular attracts her attention, Ragnar. He is close to the slaver. He is also the kind of obtuse, rude jerk who has a very strict idea about everyone's place in the world, especially his own. Anything that goes against his opinion is dismissed as false, or, when evidence is overwhelming, staged by his opponent to ridicule Ragnar's genius. I hate him already. Our meeting finishes with dinner, where I join my hosts and Sheridan in the main hall as a guest of honor. Someone found half-decent coffee for which I am grateful, and we are entertained with music and beer. Soon, the festivities pick up in the expected fashion, everyone gets roaring drunk. I even consent to play a knife-throwing game, which I win handedly to everyone's amusement. Sheridan gets his own attention after bagging an elk at 300 feet in one shot. He soon leaves with one cute Dverger lass under each arm. He will definitely have much to say about European women upon his return. As the night goes on, I finally isolate myself to practice with my rose. I would consider myself almost recovered, and my new style slowly takes shape. I am almost at the point where I wield the whip sword better than the spear, though it will take a few more weeks of practice. I simply have too much to play with. For the next 2 days, I mostly stay indoors. I help Loth around his workshop during the afternoon and roam around after night has fallen. The Skarag fortress is set deep in the Skans, surrounded by a dense forest that the clan spent lots of efforts keeping uninhabited. While most of the complex is far below ground, many facilities keep close to the surface to offer sunlight to dwellers and plants alike. The flower greenhouse offers a perfect moonlight-drenched setting for a good reading session. Sadly, the other ones use manure as fertilizers. On the 3rd night, I leave through a set of massive gates to run for an hour, and climb atop a massive pine to look around, finding not one single light, one column of smoke to indicate the presence of humanity. The howling wind and creaks of evergreens form a melancholic melody to match the scent of sap. I enjoy this small moment of serenity before getting on Metis back to hunt something. The big girl is just happy to be running around without constraints. On the fourth day, I wake up inside of my sarcophagus. A curious thing. I trusted Verger hospitality without doubt, and so far I have slumbered in the bed they offered. And yet, the mere thought of one of them dropping the dress and seeing me lying there defenseless creates an instinctive response that compelled me to relocate to my trusted haven. They cannot have access to my unconscious form. No. Never. They do not deserve it. I only allow Tauron to do so. One more quirk to add to the list. One smooth slide of a massive rail-mounted slab of reinforced steel and I am free to glare around for intruders. There are none. Instead, I am greeted by a new addition to my room, a dummy dressed in an extravagant dress. Oh, it is lovely. Irva must have made it with my nature in mind. The cloth is royal blue, my favorite color, with long sleeves and rather form-fitting. The fabric is thick and decorated with leaf patterns and mesmerizing arrangements. The crafty maker added a black cape with a white ermine fringe, giving a slight Viking nobility feel paired with courtly charm. I am impressed. And I try it on immediately, only to discover that the part is not just comfortable, it is also armored around the chest. Perfect. A small envelope has been left for my attention, directing me to ring a bell to call for Irva, which I do. The attendant immediately crashes into my lair as if she had been set against the door for the past hour. She starts fussing with my hair and manages to put it in a small braid which she ties around my head, freeing my neck. I am finally lent jewels for the occasion. I should really get my own. I could hide some nasty enchantments in those. Practical and elegant. Finally, we are done. You look very good and very fetching. Go impress the old wankers, she says. I should probably tell her not to quote Loth, at least not unless she feels like screaming insults. Ah, well. The walk to the council chamber is short, but crowded. Gaggles of gossiping adults line the walls. They recognize me from the feast and greet me with polite encouragements. Don't let them push you around. Tell Ragnar he's a flea-ridden bitch. Not the most diplomatic people around. Eventually, I run out of stone corridors and find my destination, a heavy double gate topped by the Skarag and Verger runes. Skjold guards it with all the pleasant attention of a prison guard. They are in session. You can come in whenever you want. Then let us get this over with. I am let in. The council room is much more solemn than I expected. Tapestries depicting significant historical events line the circular walls in thick formations. Rows of chandeliers provide a clear light for the large round table occupying its center, an ancient wood construct entirely covered in scars, burn marks, and scrawls. A few seats have been placed at the corners for observers. On the left side, of course, I find Loth and Carrie holding hands in an adorable fashion. On my right, however, comes a surprise. Liechni provokes us with her presence as Loth's divorced wife. A man sits by her side in a vision of affronted pride, clearly a relative. All four of them are silent. The humdrum of conversation comes from an assembly of ancient, wizened, bickering folks dressed in rich clothes too busy hurling insults at each other to realize that I have come in. I stand there, not knowing what to do. A glance at Loth reveals that he himself is quite lost, and more than a bit irritated. It takes a good 20 seconds for one of the two women present to raise her eyes to the ceiling after an ancient codger yelled at her in their tongue. When her gaze descends, it lands on me. All of you, shut up, you are embarrassing me in front of the cold one. One by one, the grunts of conversation die down until I find myself under the collective glare of centuries of stubborn hostility. I feel at home already. Following Carrie's instructions, I curtsy low enough to show respect, but not submission. I greet them in their tongue with the sentence I was taught. I am unsurprisingly, interrupted halfway. Yeah, come sit your butt, girl, we don't have all day. The oldest one complains in a voice broken by age, and probably spirit abuse. I recognize him as Ingvar the Red-Handed, the oldest Dvergr alive. He is almost 2,000 years old. You claim to care about tradition, but you interrupt the child as she greets us. The woman who had first noticed me now complains. They bicker. It has to be meant to, his wife. The others inspect me as I sit down with all the grace I am capable of, which is quite a lot. I present myself as graceful and harmless. To do so, I merely need to move slowly and fluidly while doing a few useless things such as repositioning my hands after I am seated. I have spent enough time around mortals to know how to appear demure. The members of the council lower their guard somewhat, with the exception of a man with red and gray hair, who glares with barely contained outrage. That must be Ragnar. Enough of this. Ingvar finally erupts in English. We will proceed as I say. First, the Cold One does not speak our language properly, so we will use English. Some grumbling. None of that. You all know the tongue, even you Sigvald. Don't try to piss me off again. We all know you eloped with that Essex girl. More grumbling, especially from Sigvald, who bellows in Dvergr something along the lines of brief and divorce. Ingvar ignores them. We get to ask questions one by one, starting with me. Also, this is an official event, so I will ask an oath. Lass, what's your name? Ariane of the Nirari. I shagged an Ariane once, in Greece, one of the men announces, eyes lost in dreamy recollection. Nobody cares, Rolf, get those tits out of your mind. Rolf seems to consider the request for a moment, then he rests his head on a fist and a beatific smile blooms on his face. And we lost the old pervert. Fine. Ariane of the Nirari, we are here to determine if those two can get married without breaking some oaths. Waste of my fucking time, but what can you do? Anyway, can you please swear that you will say the truth, the whole truth? I expected it, and prepared an answer. I will swear to be entirely truthful, but I cannot promise to say everything, as I am bound by previous agreements. The accords prevent me from revealing too much to rival political entities, and their council is one such group. Well, fine, that works too. But no empty words. He removes a monocle from a breast pocket and puts it on, inspecting me critically. It has to be magical. I, Ariane of the Nirari, swear on my essence to be truthful to this assembly for the duration of the council. The oath takes hold in a way that leaves my chest feeling cold and vulnerable. Ingvar nods and places his monocle back in his pocket. Out of curiosity, what happens if you lie now? Minta asks. If I break my word knowingly, my essence will fracture. I would suffer the worst pain in existence for the brief moment that I still live. Is her oath worth anything? Ragnar insinuates with a soft voice, the snake. Ingvar dismisses the argument with a frown. The vampires are even more magical than us, you cauliflower-brained dunce. I saw the magic take hold on her with my own eyes. Now shut up. I asked first. Lass, are you betrothed to Loth? No. That one was easy, and it should suffice to prove that the couple can marry safely. Of course, that unruly pack of codgers will not be satisfied until they have fully explored our relationship. They interrogate me one after the other. Were you ever betrothed? No. Have you two fucked a lot while you were in America? I have never engaged in sex with Loth, I say between gritted teeth. So rude. I must remember that their culture is much more loose with physical intimacy than we are. Really? Why? Is he not good at it? Pa, are we really doing this? I stop and look around, thinking that the person asking Rolf the pervert, of course, would get the righteous talk down he deserves. Alas, it does not happen. They all await my assessment of Loth's sexual prowesses with detached attention. Is it that serious? Come on, lass, Don't leave us hanging. Not good enough for you? I sigh, and speak in a low, deliberate voice. Numerous widows of the town we lived in mentioned that he was, and I quote, a god. I believe that they were honest with their own assessment, and they, smelled and sounded like they meant it. By the WATCHEEEEERRRRRRR, get me out please. The council aligns for the first time, in proud approval. All right then. Next question. That one comes from Ragnar. He smirks, very pleased with himself. Would you mind explaining what you were doing on Loth's territory to start with? Oh, implying that I hunted him down for my own benefit. He could prove that Loth is unfit, perhaps, or polluted somehow. No, I would not mind. They wait. I wait. We all wait and I find myself smiling. Next question, please. I sweetly suggest. A few of the members guffaw when they figure out what I did while others complain. Ragnar erects himself from his seat, red with anger. You dare disrespect? Sit the fuck down, Ragni boy, afore I give you a proper walloping. She got you good. It's your fault for trying to sound like a posh asshole. What you mean? Who the fuck are you, the Prince of Wales? Piss off, you'll get your turn again. Next. How long did you live together? Around 10 years, I could not tell you the exact time without some calculations. Were you threatened into coming here? Ingvar asks, since it is his turn again. Here, to Sweden. No. Will you receive compensation for appearing here? I consider my answer for a while. Compensation is such a vague concept. I had better be thorough. I was not paid or promised services, or even a favor. I did receive hospitality, and I expect that I will be offered nourishment sometime soon as well. Do you have shares in businesses owned by the Skarag clan? Not to my knowledge. Some of my investments are through funds that I do not manage, so it remains a distant possibility. I am seeing a trend here. They are not satisfied, and will not be satisfied until they understand us. Why were you on Loth's land when you met him? Why did you seek the king of Skarag? Ragnar asks again as his turn comes. Those are two questions. Answer them, lass, so that we are done, Ingvar asks, out of patience. Fine. We did not meet on his land. We met by accident during a hunt. And he was not the king of Skarag at the time. Your understanding of our circumstances appears tenuous at best, I coldly state. Perhaps, then, you should enlighten us, the next member asks before Ragnar explodes. This one is the only other woman. She smiles kindly. A request, not an order. I do not make a secret of my situation at that time. I guess I could share a bit, at least so that they do not haunt us anymore with their ceaseless quest to find out the origin of our friendship. I look behind me at Loth, sitting on the side. He is serene, and gives me a subtle nod. He supports my decision, no matter what. I turn back and inspect the council. They are curious now, so curious, in fact, that they are silent. Oh, very well then. I take a deep breath. Sheridan is out there, making me more human, otherwise I would never agree to share my own feelings for the sake of a friend, no matter how precious he is. Even now, frustration at the perceived audacity of the council still whispers in my ears that they know enough to make a decision, and that I would be well within my rights to inform them that our friendship is none of their business. Alas, Dvergr are passionate and emotional creatures, and if I truly want to help Loth, I must address them in a language that they can understand. So I swallow my pride in the distance I create with strangers because, in the end, I am here to assist someone I hold dear. Friendships are not always meant to be easy and free. It is quite telling that I would rather open someone's ribcage than open my own heart. They are waiting. Enough procrastination. I take a deep breath and try to forget my surroundings. I go back to those days decades ago when I was not free, mighty, and tightly woven in a dense network of allies and friends. I bring myself to remember those few hours of consciousness I had every night, that I had to spend finding blood and walking some distance before torpor inevitably made me defenseless. I can see her vividly, the younger Ariane. The one who endured only because of her unwavering belief that things would get better, if she only lasted for another night. I call upon her now. When I met Loth, I was dirty and wet. It was the end of summer in Louisiana. I had come to a swamp to hunt an alligator as part of a deal to get enough blood to last me the night. I had recently escaped from abuse and torture by feigning my own death. My torment had lasted for 6 months and I was 6 months old. 20, if you counted my mortal years. The silence helps me focus. I close my eyes and I can see him, clad in his iron armor. He looked like a giant bug, and his sudden appearance gave me quite the fright. Loth was there too for the same prey. From the moment I met him, I expected him to betray me and I prepared myself to fight or kill him. I was so distrustful that when the alligator did attack, it caught me completely off guard. Loth, of course, killed it in an instant with a bolt through the eye. After that, he made a casual advance. Chuckles around the table. I do not look. I am almost there. I reacted badly. My captivity had been a harrowing experience. Loth saw that. He did not ridicule me, or threaten me. He did not run away. He saw that I needed help and he offered it. He saved me, I think. Perhaps not my life, but certainly the heart of what I am. Silence has returned. In the following months, Loth was there for me. He was my first friend. The very first one. Even Jimena, the woman who helped me escape, became closer after a lengthy correspondence. Loth did not just host me, he helped me grow. He taught me how to have a personal code, and how to handle mortals. He created a system to allow me to feed as a fledgling without hurting the townsfolk. I owe much to his mentorship, including my love for design and smithing, especially if it relates to explosive ordnance or ways to deliver said explosive ordnance to faraway people I dislike. He taught me runes and forging and taking life with a grain of humor. There are only a handful of individuals on this planet that I regard with the same admiration and love as I regard him. All the questions you have asked me only showed one concern. Who is this cold one, and what is her game here? I play no game tonight. I am here because Loth asked me to come here. He could have asked for an assassination or a bombing run or plain old piracy and I would have obliged, but he just wanted me to talk to you. So, I do. Loth is a friend in a world of politics and ancient horrors. It is enough for me. I do not believe that the council members have remained silent for so many consecutive seconds for at least a decade. Of course, it ends quickly. Say, girl, Ingvar asks, what runes would you use on the base of an artillery gun barrel? Circle Turcoag for reinforcement, unless you are going for single use and feel a bit adventurous, then you can go for an imposition glyph. Sacrilege. Who would do this to a gun? A man by his side asks. Shut up. I use those on Turkish bronze bombards so I did not have to wreck them when we left. Ingvar retorts, spit flying over the pitted table. And how do you make proper black powder? Rolf asks, his mind finally away from whatever erotic recollection it had dwelled on. 3 parts saltpeter, then for the rest 3/5 softwood charcoal, either willow or buckthorn, and 2/5 sulfur. Mix and grind to fine dust, and add liquid so that it can form granules. I prefer pure alcohol and water, but I drop a pinch of my blood for special bullets. You can add graphite afterward to prevent it from getting too wet. What about adding run bones from magical beasts? Another asks. I roll my eyes. Loth bored me enough with this ancient controversy. It was proved not to work in a conclave of the clans 2 centuries ago. After lengthy experiments, I might add. Ha! Even the vampires know about it, you decrepit fool. Another exclaims triumphantly. No respect for a tradition. I let them bicker, but I clearly gathered their attention. Special bullets? How do you mean? Ingvar asks with excitement. Silver and steel alloy for the body. I personally engrave each and every casing as well. What do you use them for? His wife asks with naked curiosity. Shield piercing and big game hunting. Either werewolves or my kin. What runes do you use for piercing? Ingvar asks in turn. You must be dreaming if you think I will share my recipe for free, I retort, but with good humor. Ha! Ha ha ha, indeed. All right. Enough questions. Sigvald, Arn, enough with that conclave spat, it is time to decide. His gaze turns cold and cunning as he turns it to Ragnar, who was fuming in silence, then to Liekni and her relative. I cannot believe that I let you sponge-brained milksops talk my ears off with this purity and influence bullshit. You morons got it upside down. It's not Loth who got vampired, it's Ariane of the whatever who got vergered. The council is shocked by this strange revelation. As I am. I remember to close my mouth with a click. What do you call someone with honor, strength, and a propensity to apply scientific knowledge to blowing things up? A friend. Roll for oars. That's right. Case fucking closed. Let's get it over with so I can get myself a beer. All in favor of letting those two younglings bind themselves together through sacred matrimony? Aye. 5 of them answer, though Ragnar now turns red. Are you all mad? He screams, but in vain. Then your union is approved by the council, may you regret it every day of your life like I do. Minta socks him in the jaw and the poor fool falls backward and out of sight. Rolf leans to the side to remove pewter mugs from the watcher nose while another stands up to bang on a nearby service door asking for booze. I suppose the council is over then. Or not, because a shrill female voice soon pierces through the party preparations. I demand my last recourse. Liekni screams, and to my surprise, the entire assembly grinds to a pause. No more screams or signs of merriment. They even stop moving as they look on with the mix of horror and fascination normally reserved for gruesome accidents. What? Mintu asks, aghast. I am serious. I demand trial by combat. Ariane of the Nirari, I defy you. What? Tobe continued,